day.
This week, crooked cop Denzel Washington shows Ethan Hawke the way of the streets in Training Day.
John Cusack and Kate Beckinsale are playthings of fate in Serendipity.
And a practical joke on the road turns deadly in Joyride.
Today's a training day, Officer Hoyt. Show you around, give you a taste of the business, you know?
Denzel Washington is a corrupt detective, and Ethan Hawke is his wide-eyed protege in Training Day. I'm Roger Ebert.
And I'm Richard Roeper. In Training Day, Denzel Washington makes an aggressive break from his usual hero-saint roles, playing Alonzo Harris, a sociopath with a badge who roams L.A. as the self-appointed king of the jungle. Washington is one of our best actors, and he sinks his teeth into this juicy role with great bravado, but he's hamstrung by the increasingly unbelievable story. Ethan Hawke plays Jake Hoyt, who begins the day believing in old-fashioned notions like actually arresting suspects.
I let him go. Yeah, you let him go. Hey, man, you want to run and gun, man, stay in patrol, okay? This is investigations, all right? Let the garbage men handle the garbage. We're professional anglers, okay? We go after the big fish.
Not exactly a textured performance from Washington there. His entire crew is as dirty as the day is long, and this is one long day. Here they plan an arrest that's really a holdup.
You got your picks and shovels?
They're in the truck. Want to dig a ditch?
Nah, you are.
Alonzo needs a big score so he can pay off some Russian hitmen, don't even ask, and it just so happens that he knows a guy who has $4 million buried under his kitchen floor. How convenient.
First day on the job, you hit a $3 million seizure.
Wait, he said 4.
Taxation without representation, brother. Nothing's free in this world. You buy your wife a minivan with that, put the kids through college. Give me that bag.
You know, the only checks I cash say LAPD on them, right?
Somebody didn't sleep through ethics, did they?
In just one day on the job, Alonzo and Jake see more action than most cops do in their entire careers. Between the two of them, they make a couple of drug busts, they prevent a rape, they beat up the would-be rapists, they smoke some PCP, they drink beer, they down some whiskey, they shake down drug addicts played by Macy Gray and Snoop Dogg in separate incidents, they cut a deal with some crooked politicians, they eat a couple of meals, and they even commit a half-dozen felonies, and that's before their relationship goes sour. Now, Washington in his performance goes way over the top, maybe the only way to play this material, but Hawke is just too wispy to stand up to him. I thought Training Day was ridiculous, blood-soaked dreck.
I bought it. I bought it on the basis of the criticisms that you have of it. I think he goes over the top. I think the movie goes over the top. I think the movie wants to go over the top. I feel that this is an entire exercise in gloriously wretched excess. He's having a lot of fun with this role.
Well, yeah, I mean, if you're buying it as a comedy, I guess you could buy it.
To a degree, it is a comedy.
But I don't think it's intended as that. I mean, I think it's supposed to be a hard, gritty, realistic look at life on the streets.
No, it is not supposed to be. Even at the beginning, when he's letting the guy have it in the car, Ethan Hawke, he's pushing it in a way that is supposed to be comedic in a dark way. He definitely is. And Ethan Hawke, I think, is ideal. You say he's too wispy. He's supposed to be this kind of guy. The cop who believes all the liberal cliches and doesn't want to deal with the kind of reality that's being presented
Roger,
to him.
I think this movie sets itself up as a serious movie. We see Ethan Hawke with his wife, and he's talking about his day. Okay, fine. I didn't get the note saying this was a Saturday Night Live comedy. If I had looked at it that way, maybe I would have laughed, but I thought it was supposed to be...
It has a tone that's consistent all the way through, which is over the top, kind of going too far.
I guess on that level, I can see how you enjoyed it, but as an actual movie that I'm watching from start to finish, telling me the story of this cop and this other corrupt cop, I thought it was a hoot and terrible.
Well, and I thought it was a hoot. Our next movie is When You Can See It Home. This week, our Cable Watch focuses on Shot in the Heart, based on the bestseller by the brother of convicted Utah killer Gary Gilmore. It debuts October 13th on HBO. You may remember Larry Schiller's The Executioner song from 1982, the great made-for-TV movie with Tommy Lee Jones and Rosanna Arquette, based on the book by Norman Mailer. Well, Shot in the Heart tells the other side of the family story, with Giovanni Ribisi as the studious kid brother of Gary Gilmore, who is played by Elias Koteas. He wants to talk him into appealing his death sentence.
Plastic's a little worn here on the edges, but I bet you they won't break that easy. No, I'm asking you. And I'm telling you. Because if you see shoelaces like these, you take yours off, put them in Bert's desk. You put these right on. Yeah. What if they were on my neck?
The movie, directed by Agnieszka Holland, has all the tension that comes from old family hurts and wounds. Amy Madigan plays the Gilmore boy's mother, and Lee Tergesen plays her third son.
I went in the water to get him because I loved him. And I loved him no more that day than I do today. And I would go in that water again to save him. Because that's what this was all about. I just don't want him to get angry.
Shot in the Heart asks hard questions about capital punishment. No one doubts that Gary Gilmore committed cold-blooded murders, but he actually seems to be enjoying the celebrity that comes with death row. He talks about his contracts, his agent, his book and film deals with Schiller and Mailer. He seems to think that appealing his death sentence would be a bad career move. And his family is conflicted. They feel more remorse over his crimes than he apparently does, but yet, can they just stand by and let him throw away the right to an appeal? In a dramatic and thoughtful way, Shot in the Heart confronts philosophy with reality.
I had problems with the structure, enough so that I'm not going to recommend this. The jumping back and forth with the flashbacks in the family, too confusing at points, and there's these references to the occult and Ouija boards and ghosts and Indians and specters and all this stuff in the past. None of that really interests me that much. The stuff with the two brothers in the jail cell is compelling. The story of Larry Schiller, who I think Eric Bogosian is kind of wasted. They don't show enough of his character. I found that interesting, but too much jumping back and forth, and it wore me down, and I lost interest.
What confused you about the flashbacks? It shows Gary Gilmore growing up, his family atmosphere.
I mean, I think it's almost deliberately confusing at some point because there's questions about whose parent, whose child is here, and who's related to who in this way, and where the brother left, and where the other brother went, and what happened to the one guy.
But maybe that's all part of Michael Gilmore's own confusion, because after all, Gary Gilmore grew up and left home, basically, before Michael Gilmore was able to figure out who he was.
Right.
So that confusion is there in the story, and here he is. He's trying to talk this guy into not wanting to die, and he doesn't really even know him, and certainly is nothing like him.
That's why the flashbacks I didn't think were that necessary, because there wasn't much there. So then we get stuff about his parents when they were children, and I didn't care about that. And stuff, as I said, with the occult, and maybe there's a ghost upstairs at some point. And Roger, every time that happens,
it's not that there's a ghost upstairs, it's that the mother is like that. The mother is kind of crazy.
Well, the dad gets knocked down the stairs by something. So all of that stuff, I thought, stopped the story from keeping me interested, okay? All right, coming up later in the show, John Cusack and Kate Beckinsale test the notion of serendipity.
You don't have the most incredible night of your life and then leave it all to chance, do you?
And coming up next, Steve Zahn, Paul Walker, and Lily Sobieski are on the road to terror in Joyride.
Rusty Nail? Hey there. Listen, I'm pulling over for the night. You wouldn't be interested in getting together later, would you?
A practical joke is about to backfire big time in Joyride from director John Dahl of The Last Seduction and Rounders fame. Now, I like those stylish efforts, but this is just Friday the 13th with a truck. Paul Walker plays college student Lewis, and Steve Zahn is his screw-up older brother Fuller, who buys a CB radio to break up the boredom on their cross-country drive. But they play a prank on the wrong guy, really wrong guy, a psychopathic trucker with the handle of Rusty Nail.
It's called a volume knob. And the only thing I need to do to make you go away is to turn it counterclockwise. You got that? You copy that?
You're no black sheep. You really ought to get that fixed.
Get what fixed?
Your tail light.
Along for the ride is Lily Sobieski, who doesn't know anything about the Rusty Nail issue until the phone rings.
There's somebody watching us?
Yeah, he just called.
What did he say?
He said, I thought there was no girl, and then he asked what you're doing in the other room.
Okay, we're getting out of here, so put on your shoes.
I already paid for this room.
Just do it.
Well, how scared am I supposed to be?
Like the killers in all those slasher movies and the shark in Jaws, Rusty Nail has superhuman strength, psychic powers, and a flair for the dramatic.
Hey, man, what the hell are you doing?
He wants us to look in the trunk. There are signs spray painted back there. Look in the trunk.
Signs? What makes you think they're for us?
Joyride looks good, and the performances are strong, especially Steve Zahn's. But Steven Spielberg already explored this concept in the 1971 TV movie Duel, and the execution here is sloppy. In one scene, a character is wrapped in cellophane. A moment later, the restraints have mysteriously disappeared. And Walker and Zahn make one idiotic decision after another, even as the unseen Rusty Nail, like all slasher movie villains, becomes more diabolical and cunning. But if Rusty Nail is such a brilliant stalker, why did he fall for this lame practical joke in the first place? It's gaping holes like that that made this a very bumpy joyride.
Oh, come on, Richard. This movie was pure fun. I really liked it. I really did. This guy
You're Mr. Easy this week.
You haven't liked anything on this show. Come on, John Dahl is a very, very good director.
Yeah,
and here,
he is.
He really cranks it up. The performances are convincing. The fact that this guy is a Friday the 13th type stalker is a stylistic decision. You don't want to have a psychological profile of who the trucker is. You want it to just keep coming. And I found, you know, implausibilities too. For example, when they're running away from the truck in the cornfield, why not run to one side? It's very hard to turn a semi around in a cornfield.
Well, that's the problem, though. That semi moves around like this. It's serpentine, going like this all the time.
You accept stuff like that.
Well, you either do or you don't.
Because, I mean, a movie like this could have been made at a level that I would have agreed with you, but it's made... Dahl cranks it up to such a high level of style and energy. These performances are right. Steve Zahn, so sardonic as the troublemaker. I liked it.
Well, it has all the things you've seen in a million other slasher movies. If it surprised me a couple more times, I might have recommended it. I will give you...
I'm not looking forward to Joyride 2. I grant you that.
Well, it's set up for Joyride 2, though, isn't it?
Of course it is.
Yeah, of course, like all slasher movies.
Okay, coming up next, John Cusack and Kate Beckinsale are lovers subject to serendipity.
Do you believe in fate?
I never thought about it. Will you get me your phone number?
And looking ahead to next week's openings, we'll review Bruce Willis and Billy Bob Thornton as bank robbers on the run in Bandits.
Money, you walk out. You got the gun? No. Fate's behind everything.
I think so.
Everything's predestined. We don't have any choice at all.
No, I think we make our own decisions. I just think that fate sends us little signs, and it's how we read the signs that determines whether we're happy or not.
Little signals.
John Cusack and Kate Beckinsale meet by chance and it's love at first sight, but they're dating other people. So they go for hot chocolate. He asks for her phone number. She believes if they're meant to get back together, they will, because she believes in fate. So when they do meet again, which is almost immediately afterwards, she sets up a test. They're going to tempt fate by getting on hotel elevators and seeing if they both get off at the same floor.
You don't have to understand. You just have to have faith.
Faith in what?
Destiny.
Years pass, and Cusack is engaged to be married in 3 days, but he's still obsessed with Beckinsale, so he enlists his best friend, Jeremy Piven, and they try to track her through her credit card at the store where they first met.
Tell me if these numbers match.
Yeah, I'll tell you.
Don't do that. Is it 0293?
293. Congratulations. I think you found her.
No way.
Too bad the last name's completely smudged out, though.
And that's Eugene Levy as the less than helpful
Well, it's
clerk.
his fault.
The coincidences really start to mount up in Serendipity, and by the last half hour, fate isn't merely knocking on the door, it's broken in and it's tearing up the place. Cusack and Beckinsale are likable people, and we hope they get together, but eventually that hope becomes desperate because the movie is an exercise in audience frustration. It toys with us. There's a point at which the characters stop being people we care about and start being the victims of a plot so manipulative that their timing is more important than their personalities. John Cusack has a knack for finding smart movies like High Fidelity, but not this time.
So you bought the Psycho Cop movie, and you bought the slasher movie on the road, but now when it comes to a sweet romantic comedy called Serendipity, so there are going to be coincidences, now you turn into Mr. I Want Realism. I like this movie.
Too, right?
I like this movie. I like the two lead characters a lot. It's no more maddening than Sleepless in Seattle or When Harry Met Sally, which is obviously trying to imitate.
Those movies are miles better.
No, those are movies about people who we know should get together and don't get together right away because the plot wants it to be that way, because we want it to be that way, because we want to root
but those movies are about the people, and we hope they get together.
This movie
is only about them getting together.
No, it's not. It's about their other relationships. John Corbett from Sex and the City plays the boyfriend of Kate Beckinsale. It's the funniest thing I've seen in the movies in a long time.
That new age musician.
Yes, okay. Eugene Levy is really funny.
He's funny.
And Bridget Moynihan is charming as Cusack's girlfriend, and the two leads are adorable.
But the movie is tiresome.
It's not at all.
It's tiresome because we keep watching while they kind of jump through hoops. There gets to be a point
they jump
where
through
you have coincidences on coincidences on coincidences to the point where you can't believe anything.
Hence they call it Serendipity. Okay, next is Our Lady of the Assassins, a very different movie. It was shot on video in the beautiful but horribly scarred city of Medellin, Colombia by Barbet Schroeder. In films such as Barfly and Single White Female and Reversal of Fortune, Schroeder has turned repulsive and sometimes psychotic characters into objects of great fascination. But this time he's committed the cinematic sin of making them boring. Now, I did appreciate the natural performance of Colombian stage actor Herman Jaramillo as Fernando, a burnt-out writer who takes up with a teenage boy.
Por culebras. Los que yo saludé, los que mataron, era gente de Pablo.
¿Cuál Pablo?
Pablo Escobar.
No lo conozco. ¿Es un futbolista o qué?
And that's the untrained actor Anderson Ballesteros, recruited off the streets to play Alexis, who's not exactly an innocent lamb.
Malas rezadas.
Sí. Se ponen 6 balas en una cacerola a calentar en parrilla eléctrica hasta el rojo vivo. Después, se les polvorea agua bendita de la iglesia de San Judas Tadeo.
There are no characters of note in Our Lady of the Assassins other than the sleazy writer Fernando and a bunch of interchangeable teenage gangbangers. Perhaps these amoral players could have made for a shocking, provocative film, but Schroeder gives no real dimension to the writer who keeps talking about how his life is over and the street kids who barely seem to care that their lives could end at any moment. They're dull, they're lazy, and they seem to be too stupid to defend themselves. When the bullets fly, and they fly often, I didn't really care if they struck their targets.
Well, these boys are not dull and lazy, and they do defend themselves, and they're pretty streetwise, and they're living in a society where everything is broken down. There are no cops, there are no standards, there's no safe place to go, and that's what the movie is about. I can't believe you would like Serendipity and not like this, which isn't boring at all. It's about a man who goes back to a society that he once lived in and finds that the drug culture has completely destroyed this civilization.
Well, he seems to be the only guy in the world who didn't know that about that city, for one thing. And
well, I think that the anarchy on the streets came as news to me and to you.
Well, where did we think all these drugs were coming from all this time?
I know it's coming from there,
civilized
look,
society?
No, look at this city, which has no standards. That's the point.
Yeah, and these kids, they don't defend themselves. They know that there are people coming after them, and they still go, let's go to church, let's go to the market, let's go hang out, even though they know there are hits put on them. And then these kids show up on the motorcycles, and it's bang, 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 bang.
This movie is such a powerful portrait of a society that has been completely destroyed by drugs and by the drug trade.
It was dull and tedious.
Okay, when we come back in the video spotlight, is this the greatest chase scene in movie history?
Ebert and Roeper's Video Spotlight is brought to you by Nestle Raisinets. Try Raisinets in new convenient resealable bags.
A lot of people think The French Connection contains the greatest chase scene in movie history. And the new DVD release is in the video spotlight this week. William Friedkin's 1971 classic also has other claims to fame. For example, it was the movie that took Gene Hackman and Roy Scheider away from supporting roles and made them into standalone above the title stars. They both do commentary tracks, as does Friedkin.
Roy Scheider and myself spent, I don't know, it seemed like a month. It was probably 2 weeks. Going out at night with these two guys.
The 30th anniversary DVD includes 6 scenes deleted from the movie, including this one, which may not have much of a point, but shows Hackman using a previously undocumented skill. The French Connection was a breakthrough movie in many ways, raising the ante for urban cop movies. It was tougher, more realistic, and dirtier than what went before, and than a lot of what came later. And the chase scene, shot in real time with real cars, still has an impact that modern special effects can't match.
When we come back, my parting shot. According to those industry analysts who get quoted in the papers every Monday, the box office success of Don't Say a Word proves that Americans craved a thriller to take their minds off the events of September 11th. Then again, the stupid comedy Zoolander also did quite well, so I guess what audiences really need is a laugh or two. But wait, Hearts in Atlantis was strong in per-screen average, which is proof positive that we're yearning for the golden age of the 50s. You know what, here's an idea. Let's not sift through the grosses each week in search of a greater message other than this. In times of war and peace and depression and prosperity, we have consistently gone to the movies. The fall of the World Trade Center has not robbed us of our love of the great American pastime, the cinema. And that's my parting shot.
Okay, recapping this week's movies, and we disagreed on all 5. How can you be so consistently wrong?
I wasn't.
I like Training Day, Richard didn't. I like Shot in the Heart, playing October 13th on HBO, Richard didn't. I like Joyride, Richard didn't. Richard liked Serendipity, I didn't. And I liked Our Lady of the Assassins, and Richard didn't. Also opening this weekend is Max Keeble's Big Move. Let's see if we agree on this. It may appeal, I think, to 10-year-olds more than it appealed to me, but it doesn't have the crossover whole family appeal of a movie like Spy Kids, which the adults could also enjoy. This is basically a Nickelodeon-type movie for little kids.
I couldn't agree with you more.
Very wise.
Okay, remember you can hear our reviews at ebert-roper-movies.com and read us in print at suntimes.com. Next week we'll be back with David Lynch's erotic mystery Mulholland Drive, and until then, the balcony is closed.
The thing with Joyride and Serendipity is I want to be manipulated in a thriller. I don't want to feel manipulated in a romance.
Well, okay, I guess that's what you're saying this week about those particular movies. I don't know why with a romantic comedy you don't want to feel that way, and it's okay in a thriller. I mean, a movie's a movie in terms of whether or not you feel manipulated by the script.
No, each one has to be taken on its...
Rent the greatest thrills and chills just in time for Halloween. Check out Richard Roeper's picks for the top scary movies available at your neighborhood Blockbuster store. Blockbuster, bringing entertainment home.
Video games blast through batteries and your money. So arm yours with Rayovac Maximum. Last as long as standard Duracell and Energizer for less. Rayovac.
Facts of Life by Lysol. Fact, pick up toys and you could pick up something else.
My tummy hurts.
Fact, Lysol kills rotavirus, the stomach bug. Life demands Lysol. That's a fact.
Closed captioning for Ebert and Roeper is brought to you by